Si Isabela Bella Monteverde Lim, ang legal na asawa ng real estate CEO na si Julian Lim. Sa loob ng maraming taon, tahimik siyang nagbigay ng capital, loan guarantees at investor connections na tumulong sa paglago ng Lim Urban Dominion. Ngunit dahil hindi siya mahilig sa media at laging simple ang pananamit, nagsimulang maniwala si Julian na wala siyang tunay na kapangyarihan sa negosyo. Habang nakikipagrelasyon sa brand director na si Sabrina Alcantara, ginamit niya ang pera ng kumpanya upang subukang bilhin ang pinakamagandang mansion sa Verde Vista Crown Estates para sa kanyang mistress. Hindi niya alam na ang kumpanya ni Bella Monteverde Heritage Capital ang lihim na bumili sa senior secured debt ng buong proyekto at may karapatang gumamit ng credit bid upang bilhin ang lahat ng ari-arian. Ang babaeng tinawanan sa auction hall. 3 araw bago ang public auction. Nakatayo si Bella sa unfinished balcony ng Crown House, habang pinagmamasdan ang hamog na bumababa sa mga burol ng Tagaytay. Sa ibaba ay makikita ang magkakahanay na bubong ng 12 luxury villas. Ang vineyard na hindi pa lubusang naitanim, at ang clubhouse na 3 buwan nang sarado dahil hindi nababayaran ng mga supplier. Sa tabi niya ay si Mang Arturo Reyes, ang project manager na halos 10 taon nang namamahala sa Verde Vista Crown Estates. Kapag nabenta po ng hiwa-hiwalay ang mga villa, may mga buyer na gustong isarang shared facilities. Sabi niya, ang greenhouse at staff housing po ang unang mawawala. How many employees? Remain tanong ni Bella. 142 direct staff. Kasama pa po ang contractors at landscapers. And the families living in the model homes. May 6 na pamilya ng maintenance workers. Pinayagan silang tumira roon noong tumigil ang construction. Bella looked toward Villa Aurelia, the most prominent mansion on the Eastern Ridge. May malawak itong glass facade. Private garden at view, NG, Tal Lake. Sa marketing brochures, tinatawag itong the crown jewel of Verde Vista. Ngunit para kay Bella, ang pinakamahalaga ay hindi ang mansion. Ito ang wastewater system, access road, hillside reinforcement at shared power infrastructure na nakatali sa buong estate. Kapag magkakaibang speculative buyers ang kumuha sa bawat villa, maaaring hindi na matapos sa mga iyon. Magkakaroon ng legal disputes, unpaid maintenance fees at higit pang pagkawala ng trabaho. May ibang concern pa po, sabi ni Arturo habang inilalabas ang site map. May mga kumpanya pong bagong rehistro na humihingi ng access sa data room. Iba-iba ang pangalan, pero pare-pareho ang architect at contact number. Ipinakita niya ang listahan. Alcantara Lux Properties, Golden Crest Residences, Tagaytay Elite Holdings, at Pacific Crown Ventures. Who controls them? Tanong ni Bella. Hindi po nakalagay sa public registration. Pero ang contact person sa lahat ay galing sa office ni Paulo Alcantara. Ang pangalan ay pamilyar kay Bella. Si Paulo ang nakatatandang kapatid ni Sabrina. Which properties are they studying? Villa Aurelia. 3 adjacent villas and the development parcels beside the vineyard. Enough to control both entrances and most of the shared facilities. Opo. Bella folded the map. Hindi lamang simpleng auction ang pupuntahan ni na Julian at Sabrina. May mas malaking planong hatiin ang estate. Gamitin ang magkakaugnay na kumpanya upang pigilan ang ibang bidders at pagkatapos ay kontrolin ang natitirang proyekto sa murang halaga. Nang gabing iyon, nakipagpulong si Bella kay Attorney Helena Monteverde Santos sa opisina ng Monteverde Heritage Capital sa Makati. Sa mahahabang mesa ay nakalatag ang loan purchase agreement, mortgage documents at auction terms. 3 buwan ang nakalipas. Binili ng Monteverde Heritage Capital mula sa isang foreign bank ang senior secured debt ng Verde Vista Development Corporation. Ang original loan balance ay 8 billion pesos. kasama ang unpaid interest at enforcement expenses. Dahil nais nang lumabas ng foreign bank sa problemadong project. Nabili iyon ng fund ni Bella sa malaking discount. Ngunit hindi nangangahulugang libre na nilang maaaring kunin ang estate. Kailangan pa rin nilang sundin ang public auction process, magbigay ng fair opportunity sa ibang buyers, patunayan ang halaga ng collateral, at ipakita na mas mataas ang recovery ng package bid kaysa sa kabuuan ng individual lots. Your credit bid capacity is confirmed, sabi ni Helena. But we must not exercise it unless the final individual bids undervalue the estate. I understand. Julian is expected to bid on Villa Aurelia. How do you know? Helena turned over a treasury report. Lim Urban Dominion transferred 180 million pesos from its project development account into an auction deposit account. Was there board approval? None in the minutes we obtained. What purpose did Roman give? Strategic acquisition of a hospitality asset. But the beneficiary, that is still hidden behind Paolo's company? Bella remained silent. Lim Urban Dominion's development account was funded partly through credit lines guaranteed by Monteverde-linked investments. The money was intended for land acquisition and construction projects approved by the board. It was not a personal gift fund for Julian's mistress. Do not confront him yet, sabi ni Helena. We need the final bidder declaration. If Sabrina appears as ultimate beneficiary, the conflict becomes clear. And if he wins, the auction transfer will still require financial certification. We can object before registration if the funds are misused. Bella looked through the glass walls toward the Makati skyline. I do not want to stop the auction merely because he wants Villa Aurelia. Even if he gives it to Sabrina, I will stop it if he uses company money without authority or manipulates the process. Not because I am jealous of a house. Helena studied her. You still protect him more carefully than he protects you. I am protecting the legality of the case. And your marriage? Bella closed the transaction file. That is no longer the asset I am trying to preserve. Sa headquarters ng Lim Urban Dominion, ipinakita naman ni CFO Roman Castillo kay Julian ang auction strategy. Nasa conference room din sina Sabrina at Paolo. Villa Aurelia starts at 320 million. Sabi ni Roman, we expect 2 serious outside bidders. How high can we go? Tanong ni Julian. 500 million without requiring immediate board approval. If we classify it as strategic inventory. Sabrina smiled. 500 million for the house of our future sounds reasonable. Bella's husband glanced at her. Do not call it our future in front of Roman. Roman pretended not to hear. Paolo opened a side plan. My companies will bid on the adjacent villas and development parcels. Once we control the road and clubhouse voting rights, other owners will have to negotiate with us. How many companies, tanong ni Julian? Enough to avoid making the concentration obvious. That sounds risky? It is common auction strategy. Are they all funded? Bridge facilities are ready. Roman interrupted. The main concern is the senior creditor. Julian looked up. The foreign bank. We have not received confirmation that it still holds the debt. Then find out who does. The assignment records are confidential until qualification. Sabrina touched Julian's hand. Why worry? Whoever owns the loan wants money. You are bringing money. The creditor can influence the package process. Sabi ni Roman. Only if it intends to buy. Sagot ni Julian. A lender does not want villas. Hindi pumasok sa isip niya na maaaring may investor na gustong bilhin ang buong estate upang ayusin ito. Lalo na hindi niya inakalang ang investor na iyon ay ang kaniyang asawa. Kinabukasan, dumating si Bella sa registration preview ng auction hall. Hindi siya sumakay sa official Monteverde vehicle. Gumamit siya ng simpleng dark sedan at nagparehistro sa regular qualified buyer desk. Nakasuot siya ng plain blue blouse, cream trousers at leather flats. Wala siyang assistant sa tabi. Wala ring photographers. Ibinigay niya sa registrar ang bidder certificate at sealed proof of funds. Dahil confidential ang senior creditor identity bago ang auction. Simple lamang ang nakalagay sa badge. Bidder, 27, institutional representative. Would you like a seat in the VIP creditor section? Tanong ng registrar. No. The regular bidder area is fine. Sa likod niya ay dumating si Sabrina kasama ang stylist at photographer. Nakasuot ito ng fitted white pantsuit, oversized sunglasses at emerald necklace. Nang makita niya si Bella, huminto siya. Well, sabi niya ng malakas, I did not expect you here. Bella turned. Good morning, Sabrina. Are you attending as a buyer? Yes. Sabrina looked at her clothes. With what? The required documents. Documents do not pay for mansions. They usually determine who is allowed to own them. Bago pa makasagot si Sabrina, dumating si Julian kasama sina Roman at Paulo. Naka-charcoal suit siya at agad na napansin ng dalawang babae. Bella, sabi niya. Why are you here? To attend the auction. You are interested in buying property. I have always been interested in property. You never joined any of my site negotiations? You stopped inviting me after you began calling my questions interference. Julian glanced around, aware that other bidders were listening. This is not a charity sale. The deposit alone is substantial. My registration was accepted. Sabrina held up the glossy brochure of Villa Aurelia. Maybe she wants one of the smaller units. Bella glanced at the image. Villa Aurelia has serious drainage exposure on the northern slope. Sabrina laughed. You are criticizing it because you cannot buy it. No. I am reading the engineering disclosure. Julian's expression tightened. Do not embarrass yourself trying to compete with me. I have not submitted a bid. Then why are you here? To understand the full recovery value. He smirked. You speak as though you are the creditor. Bella did not answer. Sa data room, sinuri niya ang bidder declarations ng mga kumpanyang kaugnay kay Paulo. Hindi kumpleto ang ultimate ownership details ng dalawa. Pare-pareho rin ang bank reference at legal contact. Ipinakita niya ang findings kay Helena sa isang private consultation room. They are attempting coordinated acquisition. Sabi ni Bella. Gabriel De Leon has already flagged the connected registrations. Sagot ng abogado. They will be permitted to bid only if they submit full ownership declarations before closing. And Julian's deposit, confirmed from Lim Urban Dominion's restricted project account. Does the company board know? No. Then preserve the transfer record. Helena handed her another document. This is the draft beneficial ownership instruction for Villa Aurelia. Sa unang pahina ay Alcantara Locks Properties ang proposed buyer. Ngunit sa side agreement, may option na pagkatapos ng auction settlement ay ililipat ang beneficial interest sa isang private holding vehicle. Ang final beneficiary, Sabrina Alcantara. Bella read the name twice. Hindi lamang siya hahayaang tumira sa mansyon. Ginagamit ni Julian ang pera ng public-facing company upang bigyan ng mistress ng personal ownership sa isang asset. Does Julian's name appear, tanong niya, as authorized corporate sponsor and guarantor? So he carries the liability, while she receives the villa. Yes. Does Roman receive anything? An acquisition advisory fee through a related company? Paulo. He controls the intermediate buyer. Bella closed the file. Sabay-sabay nilang kinukuha ang halaga mula sa transaction. Habang si Julian ang haharap sa board kapag nalaman kung saan galing ang pera. Nang magsimula ang auction preview program, umupo si Bella sa ordinaryong bidder section. Sina Julian at Sabrina ay nasa front VIP row kasama ang cameras at investors. Ipinakita sa screen ang bawat property. Nang lumitaw ang Villa Aurelia, hinawakan ni Sabrina ang braso ni Julian. That one, sabi niya, I do not want any substitute. You will have it, sagot niya. Narinig iyon ng ilang reporters. May nagtanong, is the villa a corporate acquisition or a personal gift? Ngumiti si Julian. It will represent a new lifestyle direction for Lim Urban Dominion. Sabrina leaned toward the microphone. And perhaps a new home. Sa likod nila, tahimik na isinulat ni Bella ang kanilang mga pahayag. Pagkatapos ng preview, pinayagan ng bidders na magtanong tungkol sa rules. Itinaas ni Bella ang kamay. Will the auction include an aggregate package round after the individual lots? Attorney Gabriel De Leon answered from the stage. Yes. After determining the total value of the individual winning bids, qualified package bidders may submit an offer for the entire secured estate. The higher net recovery method will prevail. Julian turned in his seat. Why are you asking about package bidding? Bella looked at him. Because the estate functions as one integrated development. Sabrina laughed. The smallest villa starts at over 200 million pesos. She is asking about the entire estate. Julian shook his head. Bella, you cannot afford the deposit for one villa. Do not pretend you are evaluating the whole road. Several guests smiled. Some looked away. Uncomfortable. Beja did not argue. She simply asked another question. Will senior secured debt be recognized as eligible credit bid consideration? Gabriel paused before answering. Yes, subject to prior verification. Julian's smile weakened for a second. Roman leaned toward him. Someone may intend to credit bid. Who owns the debt? Tanong ni Julian. We still do not know. Bella closed her notebook. Bago matapos ang preview, ipinasa ni Helena sa auction administrator ang sealed senior creditor qualification package. Kasama roon ang loan assignment, mortgage rights, recovery valuation at rehabilitation funding commitment. Nilagdaan ni Gabriel ang receipt, ngunit hindi ipinahayag ang pangalan ng creditor sa publiko. Sa hallway, muling hinarang ni Sabrina si Bella. You should leave before the real bidding starts tomorrow. Why? Because people will remember when your paddle never goes up. Is that what concerns you? I do not want Julian's legal wife sitting in the back while he buys me a mansion. It looks desperate. Bella looked at the Villa Aurelia brochure in her hand. Does he know the final beneficiary is you? Of course. And the board? Sabrina's smile faded slightly. That is none of your business. Company money is frequently the business of company owners. You no longer have influence over Julian's company. Bella stepped closer, her voice still calm. Then you should have nothing to fear from my questions. Pagkaalis ni Sabrina, dumating si Mang Arturo mula sa estate side. Dala niya ang updated staff list at photographs ng unfinished infrastructure. Handa na pong rehabilitation estimates. Sabi niya. Are they realistic? Hindi po magiging mabilis. Kailangan ng 2 taon para tapusin ang roads, drainage, at clubhouse. And if we buy the estate, may plano po ba kayong panatilihin ng mga tao? I will retain those needed for lawful operations. But we must audit every role. Arturo nodded. Mas mabuti na po iyon kaysa ipangako sa lahat na ligtas sila. Bella looked back toward the auction hall where Julian and Sabrina posed beside the scale model of Villa Aurelia. Julian believed the auction was a stage where wealth would be measured by who raised the highest paddle for the most beautiful house. Sabrina believed ownership began the moment cameras saw her standing beside the buyer. Paolo believed the project could be divided among shell companies before anyone recognized they were connected. Roman believed the company's account could be used as long as the paperwork looked strategic. None of them understood that the true battle was not for one mansion. It was for the debt, roads, land, shared systems and authority beneath every villa. Bago umalis, binuksan ni Bella ang confidential bidder file, one final time. Sa Villa Aurelia transfer instruction ay malinaw ang pangalan. Ultimate Beneficiary, Sabrina Alcantara. Sa ilalim nito ay ang source ng auction deposit. Lim, Urban Dominion Restricted Project Development Account. Inilagay niya ang document sa evidence folder. Bukas, hahayaan niyang magtaas ng presyo si Julian. Hahayaan niyang ngumiti si Sabrina sa harap ng cameras. Hahayaan niyang gamitin ni Paolo ang iba't ibang kumpanya upang subukang kontrolin ang mga katabing lot. At kapag natapos na ang individual bidding, kapag naniwala silang pag-aari na nilang pinakamagandang bahagi ng Verde Vista, saka lamang ipapaalala ni Bella sa kanila ang isang bagay na hindi nila kailanman sinuri. Hindi sapat ang bumili ng isang mansyon kung hindi mo pag-aari ang utang, lupa at daang dinaraanan upang makarating doon. Ang presyong itinago sa likod ng villa. Kinabukasan matapos ang auction preview, maagang nagtipon ng legal at financial team ng Monteverde Heritage Capital sa isang private conference room sa Tagaytay. Sa malaking screen ay magkakatabing ipinakita ang bidder registrations, deposit confirmations at corporate ownership records ng mga kumpanyang konektado kay Paolo Alcantara. Sa unang tingin, magkakaiba ang mga pangalan. Alcantara Luxe Properties, Golden Crest Residences, Tagaytay Elite Holdings, Pacific Crown Ventures. Ngunit nang sundan ng forensic analyst ang kanilang banking at registration records, iisang pattern. Pareho ang legal contact. Pareho ang accounting firm. Pareho ang registered address ng dalawang kumpanya. At ang lahat ng auction deposits ay dumaan sa isang bridge financing facility na kontrolado ng parehong private lender. Paolo is attempting to create the appearance of independent demand. Sabi ni Attorney Helena, if several connected companies win different lots, the auction results will look competitive. But the economic control will remain with one family. Sagot ni Bella, yes. How much capital do the companies actually have? Not enough to settle the bids without external funding. Whose funding? Helena opened the next file. Lim Urban Dominion and a revolving facility arranged by Roman Castillo. Bella stared at the flowchart. Hindi lamang Villa Aurelia ang pinupondohan ng kumpanya ni Julian. Ang pera rin ng Lim Urban Dominion ang ginagamit upang suportahan ang shell companies ng kapatid ni Sabrina. Does the board know? No approval appears in the official minutes. Then Roman may be using Executive Treasury Authority? He classified the bridge facility as a strategic land acquisition partnership. But the acquired assets do not return to Lim Urban Dominion. They move to Paolo's companies. And later to Sabrina. Correct. Bella leaned back. Sa loob ng maraming taon, ipinagtanggol niya ang karapatan ni Julian na gumawa ng mabilis na business decisions. Kapag may investor na nagtanong kung bakit hindi laging may board vote ang bawat land option, sinabi niyang kailangan ng real estate company ang flexibility. Ngayon, ginagamit ang flexibility na iyon upang pondohan ang pribadong kayamanan ng mistress. Can we block their bids? Tanong niya. Not merely because the entities are connected. Sagot ni Helena. They have the right to participate if they disclose beneficial ownership and demonstrate settlement capacity. And if they fail, the auction administrator can reject final qualification. Bella turned toward the ownership chart. Then, we do not stop them before they reveal the full structure. Helena nodded. We preserve the records and let them submit the declarations. Sa headquarters ng Lim Urban Dominion, abala naman si Roman sa paglipat ng karagdagang pondo sa auction accounts. Ang original deposit para kay Julian ay 180 million pesos. Ngunit dahil inaasahang tataas ang bidding sa Villa Aurelia, naghanda siya ng emergency liquidity line. Nasa office niya si Julian nang ipakita ang revised ceiling. You can bid up to 520 million, sabi ni Roman. Beyond that, we require either board approval or a separate sponsor. I do not want to lose the villa over 20 million, sagot ni Julian. Then we can temporarily use the resort acquisition reserve. That reserve is for the Cebu project. We can replace it after the asset is refinanced. How quickly? Within 90 days? Julian looked at the funding authorization. Does this record Villa Aurelia as company property? Initially. And after settlement, we place it under Alcantara Lux Properties for lifestyle brand activation. Why not under Lim Urban Dominion? Because Sabrina's image campaign requires flexible private use. Julian frowned. Private use is not the same as company ownership. Roman smiled carefully. The arrangement can later be adjusted. Will she own it? Beneficially. So I carry the corporate approval while she receives the property. You said it was a gift. Julian did not respond immediately. I said it would become our home. Then ownership in her vehicle provides privacy from marital claims. Roman knew which words to use. Privacy. Efficiency. Protection from Bella. Every phrase made the structure sound defensive rather than dishonest. Julian signed the revised liquidity instruction. But before returning the document, he asked, Who owns Verde Vista's senior debt? Roman's hand paused. We are still verifying. You told me yesterday it might have been assigned. Assignment records remain confidential before the package round. Could Bella's family have purchased it? Roman looked directly at him. Monteverde Heritage Capital does not usually buy distressed residential estates. That is not an answer. I have seen no public record connecting them. Bella asked about credit bidding. Anyone familiar with auction rules could ask. Bella is familiar with secured debt. Roman closed the folder. She is trying to make you nervous. Julian looked toward the scale model of Villa Aurelia displayed near the window. Why would she attend if she cannot afford a competitive bid? To protect her pride. The answer satisfied the part of Julian that wanted to believe his wife remained powerless. So he stopped asking. Sa Verde Vista, dinala ni Mang Arturo si Bella sa service road sa likod ng vineyard. Doon makikita ang mga lupang gustong makuha ng Pacific Crown Ventures at Tagaytay Elite Holdings. Kung hiwalay na titingnan, ordinaryong development parcels lamang ang mga iyon. Ngunit kapag isinama sa Villa Aurelia at 3 katabing villas, makokontrol ng grupo ni Paulo ang parehong main access road, ang transformer station, ang water storage facility, ang clubhouse entrance, at ang pinakamagandang bahagi ng Lakeview Ridge. They can make the remaining owners dependent on them. Sabi ni Bella. Opo. Sagot ni Arturo. Kapag kanila ang access at utilities, maaari nilang taasan ang association fees o pilitin ang ibang buyer na magbenta. What about the protected greenbelt? Arturo pointed to a shaded area on the map. Nasa pagitan po ng vineyard at northern villas. Pero sa redevelopment proposal ni Paulo, Gagawin iyong additional residential lots. The hillside cannot support that density. May lumang geotechnical report po na nagsasabing mataas ang erosion risk. Was it given to all bidders? Opo. Kasama sa data room. Pero may bagong summary na nagsasabing manageable daw. Who prepared the summary? A consulting firm referred by Dennis Aragon. Dennis Aragon was the auction advisor hired by the former owner's restructuring committee. Officially, his role was to attract bidders and maximize recovery. But Arturo had noticed something strange. Samgasit turpo. Sinasabi ni Dennis sa ibang investors na may pending indigenous land claim at malaking drainage lawsuit. Are those claims real? Wala pong pending case. May community consultation lang tungkol sa watershed access. So he is frightening outside bidders. Samantalang kay Paulo, sinasabi niyang madaling maresolba ang permits. Bella looked at Helena. They are depressing demand for the lots they want. And increasing uncertainty so the package value appears lower. Sagot ng lawyer. Can we prove Dennis gave different information? Arturo's testimony is useful, but we need documents or recordings. Arturo removed a small notebook from his pocket. May mga email po siyang ipinadala sa site office, sa outside buyers. Pinapadala niya ang risk memo. Sa companies ni Paulo, ang pinapadala niya ay redevelopment opportunity report. Do you have copies? Yes. Preserve the original email headers? Sabi ni Bella. Do not forward them through the project system. Use the legal preservation channel. Arturo nodded. Ma'am, may isa pa po. He led them toward a temporary construction office. Inside was a wall map with colored stickers marking each villa and land parcel. Red stickers represented companies linked to Paulo. Blue stickers represented outside bidders. 7 of the estate's most strategic parcels were already marked red. Who made this? Dennis's team. Before the auction, Opo. The map was not an official record of results. It was a plan. Someone had already decided which connected companies were expected to receive which assets. Bella photographed it through the chain of custody application provided by Helena. The auction may be public, she said, but they are trying to pre-arrange the estate behind the room. Sa hapon, nakipagpulong si Sabrina kay Paulo sa Villa Aurelia showroom. Nandoon din ang kanyang stylist at social media director. Habang nakatayo sa grand staircase, nag-practice siya ng video na ilalabas pagkatapos ng auction. Welcome to the beginning of my new life, sabi niya sa camera. Villa Aurelia is more than a home. It is a symbol of courage, ambition, and choosing the future you deserve. Paulo stopped the recording. Do not say you own it until settlement. Julian will win. He still needs the final beneficial transfer. Roman says everything is arranged. Roman also wants his fee paid before closing. How much? 12 million through Castillo, strategic advisory? Sabrina frowned. That is too much. He structured the company funding. And Dennis? 8 million if the individual lots remain below the target aggregate? What about your companies? We keep the resale margin. Sabrina walked toward the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Taal Lake. And my ownership. Villa Aurelia moves to Alcantara Lux. Then your personal holding company receives the controlling interest. Before the board can intervene, within 48 hours after settlement, she smiled. Good. Unknown to them, the showroom's security system remained under the control of Verde Vista's court-appointed administrator. The audio was not actively monitored. But all recordings were preserved because the estate was under enforcement proceedings. At Mang Arturo's request, the administrator issued a preservation notice before the auction. No one could delete the recordings without leaving a trace. Sa Monteverde Heritage Capital Office, sinuri naman ng financial team ang project's true recovery value. If sold individually at manipulated prices, the expected gross proceeds would be around 1 billion pesos. After taxes, komisyon, unresolved infrastructure costs and closing expenses, the senior creditor might recover significantly less than the outstanding debt. If sold as an integrated estate to a qualified buyer with rehabilitation capital, the value could reach 4 billion pesos over the restructuring period. Bella's package plan included completion of drainage and access roads, retention of essential employees, protection of the green belt, completion of 6 unfinished villas, transparent resale of selected properties, and preservation of Crown House and the clubhouse as shared assets. This is not a quick flip, sabi ng investment director. It should not be. Sagot ni Bella. The fund will need to hold the project for at least 3 years. I know. Returns will be lower during rehabilitation, but higher than selling strategic parcels to connected shell companies. The director looked at her. Some investors may say you are protecting the estate because Julian wants Villa Aurelia. Then show them the recovery model. And if the model supports the purchase, then it is an investment decision. Bella did not want the fund to buy Verde Vista merely to humiliate her husband. If the project could not support itself, she would allow other bidders to purchase it lawfully. But the more records she examined, the clearer it became that the estate was being deliberately undervalued by people who intended to extract personal profit that justified intervention. Hindi ang affair. Hindi ang insulto. Ang financial manipulation. Kinagabihan, dumating ang final bidder declarations. Helena compared the beneficial ownership disclosures against the corporate records. Golden Crest Residences identified Paulo as a minority investor but omitted Sabrina. Tagaytay Elite Holdings listed a trust company whose controlling settlor was Paulo. Pacific Crown Ventures claimed independent ownership, but its financing guarantee came from Alcantara Lux Properties. They are still hiding common control? Sabi ni Bella. Gabriel will require corrected declarations before any award becomes final. Sagot ni Helena. And Julian. He is registered through Lim Urban Dominion as strategic sponsor of Villa Aurelia. Final beneficiary? Sabrina Alcantara through a post-settlement option. Did he sign the disclosure? Yes. Bella looked at the signature. So Julian could not later claim he believed the villa would remain a normal company asset. He had personally acknowledged that Sabrina would receive the economic benefit. Preserve it, sabi niya. Sa kabilang bahagi ng Tagaytay, nagdaos sina Julian at Sabrina ng private dinner sa hotel suite. Nasa mesa ang auction paddles. Champagne at miniature model NG, Villa Aurelia. You looked worried today, sabi ni Sabrina. Bella asked about the senior creditor. She wants attention. She has never attended an auction without a reason. She attended because she knows you are buying me the most beautiful villa in Tagaytay. She also understood the engineering reports. Her family taught her how to read documents. That does not mean she can outbid you. Julian poured a drink. What if she is connected to the creditor? Sabrina moved closer. Then ask yourself why she sat in the ordinary section. To avoid attention. Or because she has no money. The Monteverdes always have money. But does Bella? She has trust interests. Controlled by her family? Not her. Julian did not correct her. He did not know the exact current governance of Monteverde Heritage Capital. For years, Bella had allowed investment committees and family representatives to appear publicly in her place. He had stopped asking who made the final decisions. Sabrina touched his face. Tomorrow, win the villa. Let everyone see that you are no longer living under her family shadow. That was the argument that always worked. Not love. Not investment return. Pride. Julian lifted the glass. Villa Aurelia will be yours. Sa private legal suite, Bella received another report from Helena. The auction administrator had discovered that Dennis Aragon sent contradictory due diligence materials to different bidders. The restructuring committee suspended his authority to communicate with participants. Dennis denied wrongdoing and claimed the reports reflected each bidder's interests. But the metadata showed that the high-risk memo given to outside buyers had been prepared by Roman's advisory contact. Roman is connected to Dennis, tanong ni Bella, through a consulting payment scheduled after the auction. How much? 5 million pesos if the aggregate individual sale remains below 5.3 billion. So, he receives a bonus if the estate sells cheaply. Yes. And Roman receives his fee if Julian's transaction closes. Yes. They profit from both sides. Helena placed the fee agreements together. Roman received money for arranging the company deposit. Dennis received money for suppressing outside demand. Paolo captured the resale margin. Sabrina received Villa Aurelia. Julian carried the company liability and public signature. Does Julian know about the commissions? Tanong ni Bella. We have no evidence yet. He knows Sabrina is the beneficiary. Yes. And he knows company funds are being used? Yes. Then even if he does not know the entire conspiracy, he is not innocent. No. Bella looked toward the sealed bidder paddle on the table. Do we qualify for the full package round? Yes. The credit bid certificate is final. The fund also deposited the required cash reserve for taxes, costs, and rehabilitation. What is our maximum? Helena gave her the confidential number. It was sufficient to exceed the likely net recovery from the individual lots without overpaying beyond the estate's rehabilitated value. Do not raise it unless the final calculation supports it, Bella said. I will not. Hindi pa rin sigurado kung gagamitin niya ang package bid. The decision would depend on the numbers produced by the auction. That was the difference between her and Julian. He had already promised a house before knowing the true price. She would not promise an entire estate until she knew its actual value. Bago maghating gabi, nakatanggap si Helena ng court-authorized export ng communications associated with the preserved Verde Vista files. Kasama roon ang messages ni Sabrina, Paolo at Roman tungkol sa ownership transfer. Binuksan ni Bella ang thread. Sabrina is Villa. Aurelia guaranteed to move into my personal holding company. Paolo. Within 48 hours after settlement, Sabrina and the other villas. Paolo. We resell after controlling the access and utilities. Roman Julian must remain the corporate sponsor until the company funds clear. Sabrina. What if the board questions the gift? Roman. Every approval is under Julian's name. May sumunod na mensahe si Paolo. If the restricted development account is exposed, Julian takes the liability. Pagkatapos ay dumating ang sagot ni Sabrina. After Villa Aurelia is transferred to me, Julian can explain everything to his wife and the board. We keep the house and the profit. Matagal na tinitigan ni Bella ang screen. Hindi lamang si Sabrina ang gumagamit kay Julian. Pati sina Roman at Paolo ay naghahanda ng itulak siya sa harap ng investigation kapag nakuha na nila ang mga asset. Ngunit walang awa ang naramdaman ni Bella para sa asawa sa sandaling iyon. Si Julian mismo ang pumirma sa Beneficial Ownership Declaration. Siya ang pumayag gumamit ng company funds. Siya ang nangakong ibibigay ang mansyon sa kaniyang mistress. Ang katotohanang balak din siyang pagtaksilan ng kaniyang mga kasabwat ay hindi nag-aalis sa sariling pagtataksil niya. Isinara ni Bella ang message file. Sa kabilang silid, nakahanda na ang bidder paddle number 27. Sa umaga, sisimulan ang auction ng bawat villa. Magtataas ng paddle si Julian para sa Villa Aurelia. Gagamit ng magkakaibang kumpanya si Paulo upang bilhin ang mga katabing lot. Maghihintay si Sabrina sa sandaling tawagin siyang future owner. At mananatiling tahimik si Bella habang nabubuo ang kabuuang presyo. Dahil bago niya bilhin ang buong kalsada, kailangan muna niyang hayaang ipakita ng bawat tao kung magkano ang handa nilang bayaran at kung gaano karaming kasinungalingan ang itinago nila sa likod ng presyo. Ang bid na bumili sa buong kalsada. Pagsapit ng 9:00 ng umaga, halos puno na ang Grand Auction Hall sa Tagaytay. Sa harap ng silid ay may malaking digital map ng Verde Vista Crown Estates. Nakahiwalay sa iba't ibang kulay ang 12 villa. Crown House, Clubhouse, Vineyard, development parcels at mga shared infrastructure areas. Sa bawat gilid ng stage ay may screen na magpapakita ng kasalukuyang bid, pangalan ng lot at qualified bidder number. Ang mga reporters ay inilagay sa likod ng VIP section. Naroon din ang representatives ng foreign investment funds, luxury developers at private families na naghahanap ng Lakeview properties. Sa unang hanay ay magkatabing nakaupo sina Julian at Sabrina. Nakasuot si Julian ng dark charcoal suit at may hawak na gold bidder paddle ng Lim Urban Dominion. Si Sabrina naman ay nakasuot ng fitted emerald dress at diamond earrings. Sa kandungan niya ay ang glossy brochure ng Villa Aurelia. Sa cover nito ay may maliit na handwritten note, Our Future Home. Si Bella ay nasa regular bidder section. 3 hanay sa likod. Simple lamang ang kanyang cream dress at dark blue blazer. Sa tabi niya ay si Attorney Helena at isang investment analyst mula sa Monteverde Heritage Capital. Wala siyang photographer. Wala ring malaking team na nagpapakitang isa siya sa pinakamahalagang participant sa buong hall. Sa harap, lumapit si Attorney Gabriel De Leon sa podium. Good morning. Sabi niya, this auction will proceed in 2 stages. Ipinaliwanag niya ang proseso. Sa unang stage, iaalok ng magkakahiwalay ang bawat villa, crown house, clubhouse, at development parcel. Pagkatapos, kukunin ang kabuuang net recovery mula sa lahat ng provisional winning bids. Sa ikalawang stage, maaaring magbigay ng package offer ang mga qualified bidder para sa buong secured estate. Kung ang package bid ay mas mataas sa net value ng individual bids at nakatutugon sa legal at financial requirements. Ang buong Verde Vista ay maaaring ibenta bilang isang integrated property. Nagbulungan ang mga tao. Karamihan sa bidders ay naroon para sa 1 o 2 villa lamang. Iilan lang ang may kakayahang bumili ng buong estate. Tumingin si Julian kay Roman Castillo. Any identified package bidder, mahinang tanong niya. None publicly disclosed. Sagot ng CFO. What about the senior creditor? The legal team has not confirmed the identity. Julian glanced toward Bella. She was reading the auction conditions as though she had not noticed him. Sabrina followed his eyes. Stop looking at her. Sabi niya. She wants you to think she belongs here. She asked very specific questions yesterday. She grew up around lawyers and bankers. It does not mean she has 5 billion pesos. She does not need cash if she owns the debt. Sabrina placed one hand over his. She does not own anything her family does not allow her to use. Julian wanted to believe that, so he turned back toward the stage. Nagsimula ang auction sa dalawang smaller villas sa Western Ridge. Ang Villa Camellia ay napunta sa isang hospitality investor sa halagang 248 million pesos. Ang Villa Rosario ay nakuha ng isang private family trust sa halagang 261 million. Hindi nagtaas ng paddle si Bella. Hindi rin gumalaw ang mga kumpanya ni Paulo. Sa ikatlong lot, Villa Estrella, unang lumitaw ang bidder number ng Golden Crest Residences. 270 million pesos. Sigaw ng representative nito. May dalawang outside bidder na nakipagkompetensiya. Ngunit sa 318 million ay tumigil sila. Provisional award to bidder 43. Golden Crest Residences. Sabi ni Gabriel. Sa kabilang bahagi ng hall, bahagyang tumango si Paulo. Hindi siya ang opisyal na bidder. Ngunit malinaw na sumusunod sa kanya ang representative ng kumpanya. Sunod na inalok ang Villa Celina. Sa pagkakataong iyon, Tagaytay Elite Holdings ang nanalo. Pagkatapos ay Pacific Crown Ventures naman sa isang development parcel malapit sa Northern Access Road. Isa-isang lumitaw ang mga kumpanyang konektado sa Alcantara family. Sa screen, parang magkakaibang buyers ang nanalo. Ngunit sa ownership chart na nasa folder ni Bella, iisang kulay lamang ang inilagay niya sa tabi ng kanilang mga pangalan. Pula, they are taking the road. Transformer parcel and 3 adjacent villas. Bulong ng investment analyst. Exactly as shown on Arturo's wall map. Sagot ni Bella. Should we object now? No. The administrator already has the beneficial ownership issue. Let them complete their provisional bids. If they are disqualified later, the auction may be delayed. Then the delay will be based on their incomplete disclosures, not our interference. Sa V-Pro, mas lumalakas ang kumpiyansa ni Sabrina sa bawat panalong konektado sa kapatid niya. Paulo is getting everything we need. Bulong niya kay Julian. You mean Lim? Urban Dominion is funding everything he needs. Sagot nito. Only temporarily. His companies must repay the bridge facility. They will, after the resale. Julian looked toward Paulo. And if the resale fails, it will not. You sound very certain. Because investors already want these villas? Then why are they not bidding today? Sabrina's smile weakened. Dennis scared some of them with the legal risk reports. So the low prices are intentional. Strategic. Julian frowned. That could create an auction challenge. Only if someone proves it. Sa stage. Tinawag na ang Lot 7. Villa Aurelia. Biglang nagbago ang atmosphere sa hall. Lumitaw sa malaking screen ang aerial view ng pinakamagandang mansion sa estate. May infinity pool, glass walls, private garden at panoramic view ng Taal Lake. Agad na itinaas ni Julian ang paddle. 350 million pesos. Sabi ni Gabriel, isang luxury hotel executive ang nagtaas sa 370 million. Sumunod ang isang foreign family office sa 390 million. Julian raised again. 400 million? Nagpatuloy ang bidding. 420 millions. 435 millions. 450 millions. Sa bawat bagong bid ni Julian, mas lumalawak ang ngiti ni Sabrina. Tumingin siya sa likod upang makita si Bella. Nasa kandungan pa rin ito ang bidder paddle. Hindi ito gumagalaw. Bella? Malakas na sabi ni Sabrina sa pagitan ng bids. Sapat upang marinig ng mga katabing reporters. Are you waiting for the price to go down? May ilang bisitang napalingon. Bella calmly answered, I am waiting for the price to become clear. Julian lifted his paddle again. 480 million pesos. Huminto ang foreign family office. Ang hotel executive ay nag-isip. Pagkatapos ay ibinaba ang paddle. Gabriel looked around the room. 480 million pesos for Villa Aurelia? Do I hear 490? Walang sumagot. Sabrina leaned closer to Julian. Finally, I will have the home I deserve. Tumayo ng bahagya ang isang lifestyle reporter. Mr. Lim, will Villa Aurelia become a corporate hospitality property? Julian answered without waiting for Roman. It will represent the future lifestyle direction of Lim Urban Dominion. And who will occupy it? Sabrina smiled toward the camera. We will. Bella watched Roman's face. Hindi tumumiti. Sa halip, tumingin siya sa phone at mabilis na nag-type ng mensahe. Makalipas ang ilang segundo, natanggap ni Helena ang preserved transaction alert mula sa legal monitoring team. Roman Castillo requested immediate increase of auction funding limit using Cebu Resort Reserve. Julian exceeded the original authorized ceiling. Bulong ni Helena. Was the new transfer approved, tanong ni Bella? By Roman only. Preserve it. Gabriel raised the gavel. Villa Aurelia provisionally awarded to bidder 12. Lim Urban Dominion. At 480 million pesos. Pumalakpak ang ilang bisita. Hinalikan ni Sabrina si Julian sa pisngi. Then she looked directly at Bella. The smallest villa may still be available. Sabi niya, perhaps you can ask for installment terms? Julian laughed quietly. Do not be cruel. You were the one who said she could not afford to live on the same road. Several cameras captured the exchange. Bella did not respond. She simply wrote the winning price beside Villa Aurelia. 480 million. Hindi pa pag-aari ni Sabrina ang bahay. Provisional award pa lamang iyon. At kahit maging final ang individual result, kailangan pa rin kumpirmahin ang source of funds. Corporate authority at beneficial ownership. Nagpatuloy ang auction. Nanalo ang isa pang Paulo Link Company sa Vineyard Development Parcel. Ang Crown House ay napunta sa isang boutique hotel group sa provisional price na 690 million pesos. Ang clubhouse at shared amenities ay may kakaunting bidder dahil mataas ang maintenance costs. Nakuha iyon ng isang infrastructure fund sa presyong mas mababa sa independent valuation. Sa huling development parcel, sinubukan ng Pacific Crown Ventures na magbigay ng mababang bid. Ngunit isang environmental investment group ang sumali at itinaas ang presyo. Napatingin si Paulo kay Dennis Aragon, na nakaupo sa gilid ng hall matapos masuspinde ang advisory role nito. Dennis could no longer whisper risk warnings to outside bidders. The environmental group won the parcel. Paulo cursed under his breath. That land controls the northern greenbelt. Sabi niya kay Sabrina, can we buy it from them later? At a higher price. Then Julian's company can pay. Narinig iyon ng isang reporter na nakaupo malapit sa kanila. Sa regular section, nakita ni Bella na nagsulat ito sa notebook. Pagkatapos ng huling individual lot, huminto ang auction para sa computation. Lumabas sa screen ang provisional gross total. 34 billion pesos. Ngunit hindi iyon ang final net recovery. Kailangan ibawas ang taxes, broker and auction expenses, assumed infrastructure liabilities, unpaid association obligations, at discounts para sa contested or incomplete bidder qualifications. Habang kinukuwenta ng auction team ang resulta, lumapit si Julian sa regular bidder section. Nasa likod niya si Sabrina at dalawang reporters. Well, sabi niya kay Bella, you sat through the entire auction without making one bid? I was observing. You ask about package bidding to sound important? I ask because it was relevant. To whom? To the creditor? Julian crossed his arms. You still want me to believe you represent the lender? I have not asked you to believe anything. Sabrina held up the Villa Aurelia brochure. She does not need to pretend anymore. Vivant. Provisionally. Sabi ni Bella. Do not be bitter. Final awards require beneficial ownership verification. Sabrina's eyes narrowed. My ownership has already been declared? Yes. And you cannot stop it. I have not tried. Julian shook his head. You came here because you wanted to see what you lost. Bella looked at him calmly. What did I lose? The life we could have had? You are using company money to give your mistress a mansion. It is a strategic acquisition. Then why does she receive the final economic benefit? You have no right to question how I structure my company. Your company's board may disagree. His expression hardened. Do not threaten me because you cannot compete. Bella closed her folder. I am not competing with Sabrina for a house. Then what are you doing here? Waiting for the real auction to begin. Bago pa siya makapagtanong, bumalik si Gabriel sa stage. Ladies and gentlemen, the provisional gross total of individual bids is 34 billion pesos. The screen changed. After adjustments for settlement risks, connected bidder review, auction costs, and assumed infrastructure obligations. The estimated net secured creditor recovery is 87 billion pesos. Nagkaroon ng bulungan sa hall. Mas mababa iyon kaysa sa total debt. Gabriel continued. We will now open stage 2, the aggregate package round. Roman leaned toward Julian. If no package bidder appears, individual awards proceed after qualification. And if someone bids above 87 billion, the package may replace every individual award. Sabrina's face changed. Including Villa Aurelia. Yes. You said we had one? Provisionally. Sagot ni Roman. Gabriel spoke again. Qualified package bidders must provide verified capacity, deposit, settlement funding, and a rehabilitation plan for the integrated estate. No one raised a paddle. 5 seconds passed. Then 10. Julian slowly smiled again. There's no package buyer, sabi niya. Bella remained seated. Helena looked at her. Our verified credit capacity is 8 billion in senior debt, plus the cash reserve. What is the minimum package offer that exceeds the net individual recovery and remains within our rehabilitation value? Helena showed her the final calculation. 5.05 billion pesos, inclusive of assumed infrastructure obligations. And projected recovery value, 6.4 billion over 3 years, subject to completion risk. Employee retention cost, included. Greenbelt protection, included. Bella looked toward Mang Arturo, who stood near the back with several Verde Vista employees. Then, she looked at the provisional map. Red markers covered the road, utilities and strategic villas. If she did nothing, the project would be divided among connected buyers, and Lim Urban Dominion funds would be used to enrich Sabrina's family. Bella lifted bidder paddle 27. 5.05 billion pesos, announced Gabriel. The hall became silent. Julian stared at the paddle. Sabrina turned toward Roman. Who is bidder 27? Gabriel checked the sealed certificate. Bid submitted by Monteverde Heritage Capital. Every camera in the room turned toward Bella. Julian's face lost its color. Monteverde. Sabrina looked at Bella's simple clothes. Then at the screen? That is her family's fund, not hers? Helena stood. For the official record, Mrs. Isabela Monteverde Lim is the controlling chairwoman and authorized investment representative of Monteverde Heritage Capital. Nag-ingay ang buong hall. Julian stepped into the aisle. You control the fund. Bella looked at him. For 9 years? You never told me. You never asked who approved the guarantees and investment committee supporting your projects. I thought your uncle managed it. He serves as public investment spokesperson. Sabrina turned to Roman. You said Bella had no access to Monteverde Capital. I relied on outdated governance information. Gabriel raised a hand. Please remain seated. The package round is still open. He looked across the hall. Do I hear an aggregate offer above 5.05 billion pesos? No one responded. The hotel group that won Crown House did not have the capital to buy the entire estate. The infrastructure fund had no interest in the villas. Paula's companies lacked independent settlement capacity. Julian could not use Lim Urban Dominion funds for a 5 billion peso package without board approval? Roman whispered. We cannot match it. Use the corporate credit line. Sabi ni Julian. It is insufficient. Call the lenders. The bidding window is 2 minutes. Sabrina grabbed his arm. Do something. She will take Villa Aurelia. I cannot create 5 billion pesos in 2 minutes. You promised me that house? Julian looked toward Bella. You planned this to humiliate us. No. Sagot niya. The fund purchased the senior debt 3 months before you registered to bid. You knew I wanted Villa Aurelia. I learned that after reviewing your auction deposit, then sell the villa to us after closing. That decision will be made under the rehabilitation plan, not as a private gift. Gabriel called again. 5.05 billion pesos. First call. Paula stood. I-object. Monteverde Heritage Capital is using lender information unavailable to ordinary bidders. The senior creditor package right was disclosed in the auction rules. Sagot ni Gabriel. The creditor was subject to the same qualification deadline. The fund bought the debt at a discount. A creditor's purchase price does not eliminate the face value and enforcement rights of the debt. Roman rose next. The package offer should be cash, not an internal accounting credit. The terms expressly permit senior secured credit bidding. Sabi ni Gabriel, the bidder has also deposited the required cash reserve for taxes, costs, and rehabilitation obligations. Second call. Sabrina turned to Bella. You are doing this because Julian chose me. Bella's expression remained calm. If this were about you, I would bid only on Villa Aurelia. Then why buy everything? Because your group attempted to acquire the access road, utilities, strategic villas and development parcels through connected companies using undervalued bids. Paula's face changed. That is an accusation. The common financing and beneficial ownership records are already under review. Third and final call. Gabriel lifted the gavel. Sold as an integrated package to Monteverde Heritage Capital for 5.05 billion pesos. Subject to final court confirmation and settlement conditions. The gavel struck. Sa malaking screen, nawala ang individual bidder names. Villa Aurelia was no longer marked under Lim Urban Dominion. Crown House no longer belonged to the boutique hotel group. The strategic parcels disappeared from Paula's companies. All lots changed into one color. Monteverde, Heritage Capital Package Buyer? Walang nagsalita sa unang ilang segundo. Sabrina looked as though she had not understood the announcement. But Villa Aurelia was ours. Provisional awards were replaced by the higher package recovery. Paliwanag ni Gabriel. We already celebrated. That does not create ownership. Julian walked toward Bella. You could have warned me. You could have reviewed the debt assignment. You hid behind an institutional bidder number. The auction rules protected creditor confidentiality. You let me bid almost 500 million. You made that decision yourself. You watched Sabrina and me become the subject of ridicule. Bella stood and handed Helena the signed package confirmation. You invited the cameras. You bought the estate to prove you are richer. No. The fund bought an integrated distress project because the package recovery and rehabilitation value were higher than the manipulated individual result. You expect me to believe this is only business. I expect the investment committee to believe the numbers. Their approval is already in the file. Sabrina stepped beside Julian. You cannot keep us out of Villa Aurelia. Julian's company was the winning bidder. Not after the package round. You stole my house. Bella looked at her. You never owned it. Sabrina lifted the brochure as though it were a title deed. Julian bought it for me. Julian provisionally bid for it using restricted company funds. She turned toward her husband. You came here to buy your mistress one villa. Then Bella gestured toward the estate map showing all 12 villas. Crown House, Clubhouse, roads and remaining land under Monteverde Heritage Capital. I just bought the entire road, the club and the land beneath the villa. Sa likod nila, unti-unting bumaba ang bidder paddles. The investors who had laughed when Julian mocked Bella were now staring at the simple woman in the regular section. The woman who had never raised her paddle for a single mansion because she had been waiting to buy the entire structure, holding them together. Ang CEO na gumamit ng pera ng kumpanya. Hindi pa tuluyang nakalabas sa mga bidders sa auction hall nang magsimulang magbago ang anyo ng pagkatalo ni na Julian at Sabrina. Ilang minuto lamang ang nakalipas. Nakaupo sila sa unang hanay na parang bagong hari at reyna ng Villa Aurelia. May photographers, lifestyle reporters at investors na nakapaligid sa kanila. Nakahanda na ang private champagne celebration at announcement video ni Sabrina tungkol sa kaniyang bagong tahanan. Ngayon, nakapatay na ang ilaw sa scale model ng mansion. Sa malaking screen ay wala na ang pangalan ng Lim Urban Dominion. Iisang pangalan na lamang ang nakalagay sa buong mapa ng Verde Vista Crown Estates. Monteverde, Heritage Capital Package Buyer. Mahigpit na hawak ni Sabrina ang glossy brochure ng Villa Aurelia. This cannot be final. Sabi niya kay Roman Castillo. Tell them we already won the villa. Provisional award lamang iyon. Sagot ng CFO. The package bid replaced all individual results. Then challenge it. We need a legal basis. Use the fact that Bella is Julian's wife. Roman looked at her as though she had suggested something childish. Marriage does not disqualify an institutional bidder. Conflict of interest. The conflict is more dangerous for us. Napalapit si Julian. What does that mean? Roman lowered his voice. Your auction deposit came from a Lim Urban Dominion project account. If Bella's Team 4 says a source of funds review, the board will ask why a corporate account was used to buy a villa whose ultimate beneficiary is Sabrina. You prepared the structure. You approved it. You told me it was a strategic lifestyle asset. It was presented that way in the funding request. And the beneficiary declaration. Roman did not answer immediately. Julian signed it. Sabi ni Sabrina, that should be enough. Julian turned toward her. You knew the ownership instruction listed you personally. Of course. You promised me the villa. I promised you a home. I did not promise to expose the company to a related party investigation. You cannot pretend this was a surprise. You signed every page. Before Julian could answer, an auction legal officer approached them. Mr. Lim. Mr. Castillo and Miss Alcantara. Attorney De Leon requests that you remain for financial qualification review. Why? Tanong ni Sabrina. Because the package award has cancelled your provisional purchase. And the auction administrator must determine the treatment of your deposit and related bidder disclosures. Roman's face became tense. Is the deposit being returned? That depends on whether it was lawfully submitted and whether any auction rules were breached. Sa kabilang bahagi ng hall, tahimik na nakikipagpulong si Bella kina Attorney Helena at Gabriel De Leon. Hindi siya sumali sa mga reporter na naghihintay ng dramatic statement. Una niyang tinanong ang tungkol sa final confirmation. Has the court-appointed administrator accepted the package result? Tanong niya. The preliminary certification is complete. Sagot ni Gabriel. Final confirmation requires settlement of taxes, rehabilitation reserves, and review of the connected individual bids. Our cash reserve is ready, and the senior debt assignment is verified. What happens to the workers today? Operational control remains with the administrator until closing. Then issue written instruction that no employee is terminated and no shared infrastructure is dismantled before handover. Gabriel nodded. That is within the preservation authority. Bella looked toward Mang Arturo and the employees gathered near the rear entrance. She had won the auction, but she did not yet own the right to make careless promises. Hindi pa tapos ang due diligence. Hindi pa natatapos ang court confirmation. At hindi automatikong magiging matagumpay ang Verde Vista dahil lamang sa nagbago ang buyer. We also need an independent audit of every development contract. Sabi niya. Including maintenance, utilities and subcontractors connected to Paulo. Helena added. And an immediate hold on destruction of bidder records, emails, and source of funds documents. Gabriel signed the preservation notice. Sa financial review room, inilagay sa harap ni na Julian, Roman, Paulo at Sabrina ang kanilang auction documents. Ang unang tanong ay tungkol sa 180 million peso deposit mula sa Lim Urban Dominion. Who authorized the transfer? Tanong ng auction compliance officer. I did. Sagot ni Julian. As CEO. Was there board approval? The acquisition fell within executive authority. Was Villa Aurelia intended to remain a corporate asset? Yes. Mabilis niyang sagot. Sabrina looked at him. Roman looked down. The compliance officer opened the beneficial ownership declaration. This document states that the final economic beneficiary would be Miss Sabrina Alcantara through Alcantara Locks Properties. Julian paused. It was intended for brand activation and executive hospitality. Why would a company asset transfer into a private vehicle controlled by the brand director's family? Operational flexibility. Why would Miss Alcantara receive a personal controlling interest? It was part of a future marketing arrangement. Where is the marketing contract? Roman answered. It was still being finalized. Where is the board disclosure of Miss Alcantara's relationship with the CEO? Walang sumagot. The compliance officer turned to Sabrina. Did you understand that company funds were being used for your benefit? I understood that Julian was buying us a home. That does not answer whether you knew the money came from Lim Urban Dominion. He is the CEO. I assumed he had authority. Did you make any payment? No. Did Alcantara Lux Properties make any payment? Paulo arranged financing. The officer looked at Paulo. Your company's deposit was supported by a bridge facility guaranteed by Lim Urban Dominion. That was a commercial partnership. Why did your company have almost no operating capital before the auction? We are a development vehicle. Why were four supposedly separate bidder companies using the same financing source, legal contact, and beneficial ownership network? Paulo leaned back. Connected companies are not prohibited. Failure to disclose coordinated control is. Outside the room, reporters began receiving leaked fragments of the story. The CEO, who mocked his wife for not being able to afford a villa, had used company money to buy one for his mistress. The supposedly independent bidders for nearby properties were linked to the mistress's brother, and the woman sitting in the ordinary section had quietly acquired the entire estate through a secured credit package prepared months earlier. Within an hour, headlines appeared. CEO's villa bid under review after wife buys entire Tagaytay estate. Corporate funds allegedly used for mistress's luxury home. Connected shell companies targeted Verde Vista strategic lots. Sabrina's communications team tried to stop the story, but the cameras had already recorded her saying, "It will be mine before the day ends." The same reporters had captured Julian, describing Villa Aurelia as Lim Urban Dominion's new lifestyle direction. And the auction file showed Sabrina as the ultimate beneficiary. Sa hallway, hinarap ni Julian si Roman. "You told me the beneficiary structure would remain private. It was disclosed because auction rules required it. You told me the board would not need approval. For the initial strategic acquisition, there was no initial acquisition. The villa would transfer to Sabrina. You knew that. I knew she would use it. You signed her personal holding option." Julian's jaw tightened. "Did you receive a fee?" Roman did not answer. "Did you?" A normal transaction advisory payment was scheduled. "How much?" 12 million. And Dennis. Roman looked away. "How much?" 5 million? If the estate closed under the individual aggregate? Julian stared at him. "You were paying the auction advisor to keep prices low. I did not pay him to manipulate bids. You paid him only if the total stayed below a target. That was a success fee." "For whom?" Roman's silence answered. "Nang gabing iyon, nagpatawag ang board ng Lim Urban Dominion ng emergency meeting sa BGC. Hindi na sila makapaghintay sa final auction confirmation dahil ang 180 million deposit ay nanggaling sa restricted project development account. Sa boardroom, si Independent Director Teresa Navarro ang namuno. "Mr. Lim, explain the business purpose of Villa Aurelia," sabi niya. Julian sat at the head of the table. But for the first time, no one treated the chair as proof of control. It was intended as a flagship hospitality and lifestyle property. Was there an approved development plan? Not yet. An operating budget? Still under preparation. A revenue forecast? Roman's team was developing it. A board-approved agreement with Miss Alcantara? No. Then why was she the ultimate beneficiary? Julian glanced toward Roman. It was designed to support her public brand role. Through personal ownership, it could have been restructured after settlement. Teresa opened another document. This side agreement gives Miss Alcantara the right to acquire control of Alcantara Lux properties for 1 peso after the corporate funds cleared. The room became silent. 1 peso, asked another director. Roman tried to intervene. That mechanism was intended to simplify future transfer. Future transfer of a corporate-funded asset to the CEO's mistress? Miss Alcantara was a senior executive. That makes the conflict worse. Not better? Julian looked at the page. He had signed the corporate sponsorship documents, but he had not seen the 1 peso control option. Where did this come from? From the auction data room. Teresa answered. It was part of the final beneficial ownership package. Julian turned to Sabrina's empty chair. She had not been allowed inside because she was neither a director nor an authorized shareholder representative. She never showed me that. Roman spoke carefully. The legal team may have included it in the post-settlement documents. You knew. I knew there was an option. For 1 peso. I did not negotiate the price. Teresa raised a hand. Whether Mr. Lim knew every detail will be investigated. But he did know company funds were being used to purchase a property for an undisclosed romantic partner. I intended to disclose the relationship after the transaction, sabi ni Julian. After the asset had transferred beyond the company, I trusted Roman's structure. You are the CEO. Trust does not replace review. Dumalo si Bella sa ikalawang bahagi ng meeting bilang representative ng Monteverde-linked secured facilities and minority investment interests. Hindi siya umupo sa tabi ni Julian. Nasa kabilang dulo siya ng mesa kasama si Helena. Mrs. Lim? Sabi ni Teresa. Did Monteverde Heritage Capital purchase the Verde Vista debt to interfere with Mr. Lim's bid? No. The debt was acquired 3 months before Lim Urban Dominion registered for the auction. Was the fund aware that Mr. Lim intended to buy Villa Aurelia for Ms. Alcantara? We learned it through the auction deposit and beneficiary disclosure. Did the fund bid above economic value to prevent him from winning? Bella handed over the rehabilitation valuation. The package bid was below the projected integrated recovery value and above the net individual recovery. It was approved by the investment committee. Would you sell Villa Aurelia to Lim Urban Dominion after closing? Julian looked at her. Bella answered calmly. Not through a private arrangement. Any future sale must follow the fund's rehabilitation plan. Independent valuation and conflict review. Bella, sabi ni Julian, we can purchase it at a premium. With what money? The company can raise a lawful acquisition facility. For a house whose beneficiary remains Sabrina, he did not answer. Remove her from the transaction, sabi niya. Sabrina's voice suddenly came from the conference room doorway. She had ignored the instruction to remain outside. You cannot remove me from a house, Julian promised me. Teresa turned sharply. This is a closed board meeting. I am the company's brand director. The scandal involves my position. You are also the undisclosed beneficiary. Sabrina walked toward the table. Bella is using her fund to punish us. Bella looked at her. The fund's package offer preserved more value than the individual sale. You bought the whole estate because you could not bear to see me in Villa Aurelia. If that were true, I would have bought only the villa. Then sell it to us. No. You admit it. I refuse to sell a property through the same undisclosed related party structure currently under investigation. Sabrina looked toward Julian. Tell her you will buy it personally. My personal liquidity cannot support that price, he said. You said money was not a problem. The company's money is not my personal money. The words came too late. But even Julian heard how different they sounded after everything that had happened. Sabrina stared at him. So now, you understand the difference. Before he could answer, Teresa ordered security to escort her out. Sa forensic review, lumitaw pa ang mas mabigat na ebidensiya. Nakuha mula sa preserved auction communications ang full thread ni Sabrina, Paolo at Roman. Roman Julian must remain sponsor until the corporate funds clear. Paolo, after settlement, Villa Aurelia moves to Sabrina's holding company. Sabrina, and if the board questions the gift? Roman, every approval remains under Julian's name. May sumunod na mensahe si Paolo. Dennis's risk memos should keep outside bids below target. Pagkatapos ay ang pinaka-importanting linya. Sabrina, after Villa Aurelia transfers to me, Julian can explain the restricted account to his wife and the board. We keep the house and the profit. Ipinakita ang thread sa emergency board session. Julian read it twice. You plan to leave me with investigation. Sabrina, now connected through her lawyer's video call, crossed her arms. We needed to protect the asset. From whom? From Bella. And from me? You would still be CEO. Your messages say Paolo would control the resale companies. For operational efficiency, you expected the board to investigate the restricted account. Roman said you could manage it. You knew every approval was under my name. You signed them. You told me we were building a home. We were building leverage. The answer slipped out too quickly. Julian stared at her. Leverage against whom? Sabrina looked toward Roman. Neither answered. Teresa opened another document. The group had prepared a post-auction governance memo recommending that Julian be suspended if the related party transaction became public. It argued that the company could preserve the acquired assets by transferring operational authority to Roman while keeping the properties inside Paolo's vehicles. You intended to remove me after I funded everything, sabi ni Julian. Roman responded. It was a contingency plan. A plan that keeps your fees and her villa. If the board removed you, the transaction needed continuity. Julian laughed once. Without humor? You called me the corporate sponsor because you needed someone whose signature could absorb the liability. No one denied it. But Bella did not rescue him with sympathy. You were willing to let them use your signature because the result gave Sabrina my family's kind of life. Sabi niya. I did not know they planned to remove me. You knew the company was paying. I believed the asset would create value. You knew she would own it personally. I thought it would become our home. You were still married to me. We were separated. Separation does not turn corporate money into a personal gift account. I was wrong. Yes. Does their betrayal mean nothing? It explains why you are angry now. It does not erase why you signed. The board moved into closed deliberation. Outside, Sabrina tried calling Julian repeatedly. He did not answer. Roman sat under supervision while auditors copied his devices. Paolo's companies received notices requiring full source of funds disclosure and preservation of all auction communications. Dennis Aragon was formally removed from any role in the Verde Vista proceeding and referred for investigation into misleading bidder communications. After nearly an hour, the directors returned. Roman Castillo was suspended as CFO and stripped of financial authority. All contracts and credit facilities connected to Alcantara Lux Properties, Golden Crest Residences, Tagaytay Elite Holdings and Pacific Crown Ventures were suspended. Sabrina was suspended as brand director, pending investigation into undisclosed benefits, use of corporate resources and participation in connected party bidding. Then Teresa faced Julian. Effective immediately. You are suspended as CEO and executive director pending review of unauthorized use of restricted project funds, undisclosed related party transactions, and breach of fiduciary duty. Julian stood. I did not know the entire scheme. You knew enough to stop? Sabi ni Teresa. I can protect the company better from inside. The interim committee will protect the company while investigators determine what you approved. My name built this business. Capital. Employees and governance built this business. Your name does not place you above them. Pagkatapos ng meeting, hiniling ni Julian na makausap si Bella sa presensya ng kanilang mga abogado. Sa mesa sa pagitan nila ay ang Villa Aurelia Beneficiary Declaration, Auction Deposit Record at Suspension Notice. Sell me the villa after closing, sabi niya. No? I will use personal funds and outside financing. Your current personal accounts and obligations must first be reviewed. You want me to lose the one thing I promised Sabrina. You already lost Sabrina. He looked away, then sell it to me for myself. Why? To prove I can still recover something. That is not an investment reason. It is personal. Exactly why the fund cannot make the decision privately. You humiliated me in front of the industry. You mocked me before the auction began. I did not know you controlled the creditor. You should not need to know someone's balance sheet before treating her with respect. I thought you came to watch. I came to protect an integrated project from being divided through shell companies. You won. This is not over. The fund still has to rehabilitate the estate. And what happens to me? The board and investigators will decide what belongs to the company. Our marriage will be handled separately. Julian looked at the image of Villa Aurelia on the brochure. You took the house, the project, and my position. Bella shook her head. I did not take your position. Your board suspended you. You caused the investigation. You used restricted money. You outbid me. You did not lose the villa because I offered more. She placed the source of funds record in front of him. You lost everything when you used other people's money to buy a future for your mistress. Sa Verde Vista, ipinahinto ng administrator ang lahat ng provisional transfers. Tinanggal ang red lot markers mula sa wall map. Walang shell company ni Paulo ang nakakuha ng access road, transformer parcel o katabing villas. Ang Villa Aurelia ay nanatiling walang personal na owner habang hinihintay ang final package confirmation. Sa service area, tinipon ni Mang Arturo ang mga empleyado. Hindi pa po tayo ligtas, sabi niya. Pero walang mawawala ng trabaho ngayong linggo. May audit muna. May ilan na pumalakpak. May ilan ding nanatiling tahimik dahil alam nilang mahaba pa ang pagbangon. Sa ridge, sa itaas ng estate. Nakatayo si Bella habang pinagmamasdan ang mga villa na muntik ng hatiin sa magkakaugnay na kumpanya. Hindi siya bumili ng isang mansion upang isara ang pinto sa mukha ng kanyang asawa. Binili ng kanyang fund ang buong proyekto upang walang sino mang makagamit sa mga daan. Lupa at manggagawa bilang dekorasyon sa isang lihim na regalo. At sa unang pagkakataon, naunawaan ni Julian na ang pinakamahalagang bagay na nawala sa kaniya ay hindi ang Villa Aurelia. Ito ay ang paniniwala na maaari niyang gamitin ang pera ng kumpanya, pangalan ng asawa at tiwala ng board at tawagin pa ring personal na tagumpay ang lahat ng iyon. Ang babaeng bumili para hindi maibenta ang lahat. 11 buwan ang lumipas bago tuluyang mailipat sa Monteverde Heritage Capital ang buong Verde Vista Crown Estates. Hindi naging mabilis ang proseso. Kinailangan munang kumpirmahin ng court-appointed administrator na mas mataas ang net recovery ng package bid kaysa sa pinagsama-samang individual offers. Sinuri rin ang loan assignment, senior mortgage rights, cash reserve, tax payments at rehabilitation funding ng Monteverde Fund. 3 independent valuation firm ang nag-review sa presyo. Lahat sila ay umabot sa halos parehong konklusyon. Mas malaki ang halaga ng Verde Vista bilang isang integrated estate kaysa bilang magkakahiwalay na villa at development parcel. Kung itinuloy ang individual auction, makokontrol ng mga kumpanyang konektado kay Paulo ang access road. Mapupunta sa magkakaibang owner ang water at power infrastructure. Maaaring mawala ang protected green belt. At mas malaki ang posibilidad na hindi matapos ang mga nakabinbing construction work. Dahil dito, pinagtibay ang package sale. Ang mayayamang, crown house, clubhouse, vineyard, shared roads, utility parcels at natitirang development land ay opisyal na napunta sa Monteverde Heritage Capital. Ngunit sa araw ng turnover, hindi agad pumunta si Bella sa Villa Aurelia. Ang una niyang pinuntahan ay ang staff housing. Doon naghihintay si Mang Arturo kasama ang maintenance workers, gardeners, security staff, engineers at pamilya ng ilang manggagawa. Marami sa kanila ang may hawak na resignation forms na inihanda noong panahon ng dating management. Akala nila, matapos ang auction, ipapaalis sila upang mabawasan ang gastos. Tumayo si Bella sa harap nila nang walang stage o camera. I will not promise that nothing will change. Sabi niya, the project needs restructuring, and every contract must be reviewed. Nagkatinginan ng mga empleyado. But no one will be removed simply because the estate has a new owner. Tumaas ang kamay ng isang electrician. Ma'am, may utang pa po sa amin na overtime. The verified employee claims will be prioritized before discretionary renovation. Isang landscaper naman ang nagtanong. Tatanggalin po ba ang vineyard? No, but the current expansion plan will be reviewed for environmental safety. And the staff housing. It will remain until a proper employee housing plan is completed. Mang Arturo nodded slowly. Hindi siya madaling maniwala sa mga bagong owner. Ilang beses na niyang narinig ang salitang rehabilitation mula sa mga investor na ang tunay na ibig sabihin ay layoffs at mabilis na resale. May tanong po ako. Sabi niya, bakit ninyo binili ang buong estate? Bella looked toward the ridge where Villa Aurelia stood. Because someone was trying to buy the valuable pieces and leave everyone else with the liabilities. Hindi po ba dahil gusto ng asawa ninyo ang Villa Aurelia? That made me look more carefully. But it was not enough reason to commit fund capital. So business decision po ito. Business. Legal and human. She paused. If the numbers had shown the estate could not recover, I would not have used investors' money merely to embarrass my husband. Iyon ang sagot na unang nagbigay kay Arturo ng tiwala. Hindi sinabi ni Bella na ililigtas niya ang lahat dahil mabuti siyang tao. Sinabi niyang kailangan munang maging tapat sa halaga, panganib at responsibilidad. Sa unang 3 buwan ng rehabilitation, ipinahinto ang lahat ng luxury cosmetic work. Walang bagong imported marble, walang designer furniture, walang champagne launch. Sa halip, ginamit ang pondo para sa hillside reinforcement, drainage repair, water storage rehabilitation, transformer replacement, fire safety compliance, at bayad sa mga manggagawang hindi nasweldohan ng dating owner. Inuna rin ang completion ng 6 unfinished villas upang maibenta ang mga iyon sa transparent market process. Hindi ipinagbili ang access road. Hindi inilipat sa private company ang utility parcels. At ang greenbelt na gustong gawing additional luxury lots ni Paulo ay inilagay sa long-term conservation covenant. Ang Crown House ay hindi ginawang personal mansion ni Bella. Ginawa itong mixed-use center para sa estate management, real estate rehabilitation training, community consultations, at temporary accommodation ng engineers at project specialists. Sa ground floor, nagtayo ng small exhibition tungkol sa kasaysayan ng Verde Vista mula sa ambitious construction plan hanggang sa debt crisis at attempted asset fragmentation. Hindi isinama ang private details ng marriage ni Bella at Julian. Para kay Bella, hindi kailangang gawing entertainment ang bawat sugat upang maipaliwanag ang financial failure. Samantala, patuloy ang investigation sa Lim Urban Dominion. Napatunayang walang board approval ang paggamit ng restricted development account para sa auction deposit ng Villa Aurelia. Ang 180 million pesos ay hindi tuluyang nawala dahil provisional lamang ang bid at na-cancel bago settlement. Ngunit ang paggamit nito ay malinaw na paglabag sa Treasury Controls. Ang emergency liquidity line mula sa Cebu Resort Reserve ay hindi rin autorisado. Sa final disciplinary hearing, sinubukan ni Roman Castillo na ipaliwanag na kumilos siya sa ilalim ng executive instructions ni Julian. Mr. Lim wanted Villa Aurelia, sabi niya. Teresa Navarro, na namuno sa hearing, asked, did he order you to create a 1 peso option transferring control to Miss Alcantara? Roman did not answer. Did he order you to pay Dennis Aragon only if individual bids remained below target? I considered it a performance incentive. Performance for whom? For transaction efficiency? Was the company's objective to maximize auction value or acquire assets cheaply for connected parties? Roman looked toward his lawyer. Both outcomes could benefit the company. How would Sabrina's personal ownership benefit the company? It supported brand positioning. Where is the valuation of that brand benefit? Wala siyang maipakita. Napatunayang si Roman ang nag-ayos ng bridge financing para sa shell companies ni Paulo, secret advisory payments, misclassification ng restricted funds, at post-settlement transfer ng Villa Aurelia kay Sabrina? Permanenteng tinanggal siya bilang CFO. Ang kanyang records ay ipinasa sa regulators at prosecutors para sa posibleng fraud, breach of trust at falsification of corporate disclosures. Si Dennis Aragon naman ay nawalan ng professional accreditation sa auction at restructuring work matapos mapatunayang nagbigay siya ng magkaibang risk reports sa bidders. Sa outside investors, ipinakita niya ang exaggerated legal at engineering concerns. Sa companies ni Paulo, ipinakita niya ang redevelopment opportunities at paraan upang kontrolin ang access at utilities. Hindi siya nakatanggap ng 5 million peso success fee. Sa halip, ang draft fee agreement ang naging ebidensiya ng kanyang conflict. Ang mga kumpanya ni Paulo Alcantara ay isinailalim sa financial investigation. Lumabas na ang 4 na bidder companies ay halos walang independent capital. Umasa sila sa Lim Urban Dominion Guarantees, Shared Bridge Facilities, at inaasahang resale proceeds mula sa Verde Vista. Ang ilan sa mga kumpanyang iyon ay isinara. Ang iba ay pinagbayad ng penalties dahil sa incomplete beneficial ownership disclosures. Si Paulo ay hindi nakakuha ng kahit isang villa, road parcel o infrastructure asset. Sa interview ng investigators, iginiit niyang normal lamang ang paggamit ng multiple entities sa real estate acquisitions. Multiple entities are legal. Sagot ng investigator. Hiding that they act as one bidder group is not. Para kay Sabrina, ang pinakamabilis na nawala ay ang imahe ng tagumpay. Noong araw ng auction, nakasuot siya ng emerald dress at nakatayo sa tabi ng scale model ng Villa Aurelia habang sinasabing iyon ang simula ng kanyang bagong buhay. Pagkaraan ng ilang linggo, ang parehong video ay ginamit sa corporate investigation upang ipakitang alam niyang personal home ang mansion. Hindi strategic company asset. Tinanggal siya bilang brand director. Kinansela ang executive vehicle, housing allowance at luxury representation budget niya. Ang personal holding company na dapat tumanggap ng Villa Aurelia ay hindi kailanman nagkaroon ng asset. Nang tanungin siya tungkol sa mensaheng, "After Villa Aurelia transfers to me, Julian can explain everything to his wife and the board. We keep the house and the profit." Sinabi niyang galit lamang siya nang ipadala iyon. Ngunit ipinakita ng investigators ang mga naunang mensahe tungkol sa 1 peso option, resale margins, at planong alisin si Julian kapag nagsimula ang board inquiry. Hindi siya simpleng babaeng naniwala sa pangako ng isang CEO. Aktibo siyang lumahok sa pagbuo ng structure na magbibigay sa kanya ng bahay habang inilalagay kay Julian ang pananagutan. Sa huli, naghiwalay din sila Hindi dahil biglang naging tapat si Julian kay Bella, kundi dahil parehong napagtanto ni na Julian at Sabrina na hindi na nila mapapakinabangan ang isa't isa. Sa kanilang huling private meeting, sinabi ni Julian, "You told me we were building a future." Sabrina answered, "We were building one until Bella destroyed the transaction. Your messages show you planned to remove me. You were already risking the company. For you. For yourself. You wanted to prove you could give me what Bella's family had. You used my signature. And you used company money." Julian stared at her. "So that makes us equal." "No. It makes us honest too late." Pagkatapos nun, wala nang relasyon na dapat iligtas. Sa final board resolution ng Lim Urban Dominion, permanenteng tinanggal si Julian bilang CEO at Executive Director. Hindi na patunayang siya ang nagdisenyo ng lahat ng shell companies o secret commissions. Ngunit napatunayang, alam niyang company money ang gagamitin. Alam niyang si Sabrina ang final beneficiary. Nilagdaan niya ang related party documents ng walang board approval. Hindi niya hiningi ang independent review. At pinili niyang magpatuloy dahil gusto niyang ipakita kay Bella at sa publiko na kaya niyang bumili ng mansion para sa kanyang mistress. Sa hearing, sinabi niya, "I relied on Roman." Teresa responded, "A CEO may rely on experts. He may not use reliance as an excuse to stop understanding a transaction that personally benefits someone close to him. I did not receive the villa. You intended to control the corporate decision while Miss Alcantara received the economic benefit. I believed it would improve the company's luxury positioning. You called it your future home." The video from the auction was played. Narinig ang boses ni Julian. It will represent a new lifestyle direction for Lim Urban Dominion. Pagkatapos ay ang boses ni Sabrina. And perhaps a new home. Wala nang depensang makapagpapalit sa kahulugan ng mga salitang iyon. Nanatili kay Julian ang personal shares at assets na legal niyang pag-aari. Hindi kinuha ni Bella ang lahat. Hindi rin siya humiling na ipagbawal itong muling magtrabaho sa real estate. Ngunit nawalan siya ng CEO position, executive authority, company residence, at tiwala ng board. Hindi siya hinatulan dahil mahal niya ang ibang babae. Nawalan siya ng posisyon dahil ginamit niya ang pera at kapangyarihan ng kumpanya upang pondohan ang relasyong iyon. Pagkaraan ng 8 buwan, nagkita sina Bella at Julian sa private mediation room upang tapusin ang kanilang kasal. Sa mesa ay nakalagay ang marital settlement, property, separation, at disclosure ng lahat ng personal at trust-linked assets. Walang Bilya Aurelia brochure. Walang reporters. Wala rin si Sabrina. Julian looked older than he had at the auction. "I thought you would take everything," sabi niya. "I am taking back only what was improperly exposed or connected to my trust. You could demand more. I do not want revenge written into a settlement. You bought the entire estate in front of me. The fund bought it under an approved investment plan. You knew what it would do to me. I knew you would be shocked. Then part of you wanted that." Bella did not lie. "Yes." Julian looked at her. "But that was not enough reason to spend 5 billion pesos. "No." "What was? The project had value. The individual auction was being manipulated. Employees would lose work. Strategic parcels would be taken by connected companies. The package purchase produced a better recovery. So I was not the reason. You were the reason I looked closely." He lowered his eyes. "I laughed at your clothes. You laughed because you thought respect should depend on how much money I could display. I believed you had stepped away from everything. I stepped away from you, not from my responsibilities. I thought your family controlled the fund. I controlled it. For 9 years? Yes. While I was building Lim Urban Dominion. While I was approving guarantees, reviewing risks, and protecting your access to capital. Why did you never tell the world? Because I wanted your success to stand on its own. And I used that silence to pretend you contributed nothing. Bella said nothing. Julian stared at the settlement papers. I wanted Villa Aurelia because I thought it would prove I was no longer living under the Monteverde name. You tried to prove your independence using company funds supported by the same financial network you resented. I know. Do you? I know now. Knowing after the loss is not the same as respecting the boundary before crossing it. He took a long breath. Can we begin again? No. Even after everything is settled. The settlement ends the financial dispute. It does not restore trust. I never expected Sabrina to betray me. You expected me to accept being betrayed? The sentence silenced him. Bella signed the final page. Julian followed. Hindi sila nagyakapan. Hindi rin sila nagsigawan. Ang kanilang kasal ay natapos sa parehong paraan ng maraming asset dispute. Sa malinaw na dokumento, verified consent at 2 taong sa wakas ay nakauunawa kung ano ang hindi na maaaring ibalik. 1 taon matapos ang auction, opisyal na muling binuksan ang Verde Vista Crown Estates. Hindi lahat ng villa ay ibinenta. 4 ang inilaan para sa long-term hospitality operations. 3 ang ibinenta sa transparent bidding process sa tunay na independent buyers. 2 ginawang executive retreat at training facility. Ang iba ay nanatiling bahagi ng phase development plan. Ang Villa Aurelia ay hindi itinago ni Bella bilang tropeo. Ipinagbili iyon sa isang Filipino family foundation na gagamit sa property para sa leadership retreats at philanthropic events. May independent valuation. May open disclosure. At walang secret beneficiary. Nang tanungin ng isang reporter kung bakit hindi niya pinanatili ang mansion. Ngumiti si Bella. I do not need to live inside a house merely because someone once used it to insult me. Sa reopening ceremony, naroon ang mga empleyado, contractors, local officials, at investors. Walang Guyan portrait ni Bella. Sa halip, ang nasa entrance ng Crown House ay isang plaque. Verde Vista, Crown Estates restored through integrated ownership, transparent finance, and shared responsibility. Tinawag si Mang Arturo upang magsalita. Noong araw ng auction, sabi niya, akala namin ang pinakamayamang tao ay ang kayang bumili ng pinakamagandang villa. Tumingin siya kay Bella. Pero ang tunay na may kakayahan ay iyong nakakita sa roads. Workers, drainage, debts at future ng buong lugar. Pumalakpak ang mga tao. Pagkatapos ng ceremony, nilapitan si Bella ng reporter na nakakita sa buong auction. 1 taon na ang nakalipas. Mrs. Monteverde, many people still believe you bought Verde Vista to take revenge on your husband. If I wanted revenge, sagot niya, I only needed to buy Villa Aurelia and lock the door. The reporter smiled. Then why buy everything? Bella looked toward the workers finishing the garden near Crown House. Because if the estate had been divided, hundreds of people would lose jobs. Infrastructure would be controlled by shell companies and the project's real value would disappear. Julian mocked you for not having enough money. He looked at my dress. And what did you look at? The debt? The ownership? The roads? The workers? The obligations? Did you enjoy proving him wrong? Bella did not pretend to be above emotion. For a moment, yes. And afterward, I had to spend months proving that the purchase was more than a dramatic moment. She turned toward Villa Aurelia in the distance. Anyone can raise a paddle once. Ownership begins after the cameras leave. Bago matapos ang interview, tinanong siya, what did Julian misunderstand most? He believed that the person who spends the money must be the owner. And that was not true. He used company money. Sabrina expected personal ownership. Paulo expected resale profit. Roman expected fees. Bella looked toward the full estate map displayed inside Crown House. Everyone claimed a different part of the value. None of them wanted responsibility for the whole. And you did. I accepted the debt. Construction risk. Workers. Environmental obligations and long rehabilitation period. So that is what ownership means to you. Ownership is not only the right to say mine. It is the duty to answer for everything that comes with it. Nang gabing iyon, matapos umalis ang mga bisita, naglakad si Bella sa main road ng Verde Vista. Dumaan siya sa Villa Aurelia, sa vineyard, sa clubhouse, at sa staff housing. Wala ng red stickers sa mga mapa. Wala ng shell companies na kumokontrol sa mga daan. Wala ng private agreement na magbibigay ng mansion sa isang mistress gamit ang pera ng corporation. Sa dulo ng road, huminto siya sa viewing deck na nakaharap sa Taal Lake. Doon niya naalala ang sinabi ni Julian sa auction. Hindi mo kayang bumili ng bahay sa parehong kalsada namin. Mali siya. Ngunit hindi dahil mas marami lamang ang pera ni Bella. Mali siya dahil inakala niyang ang halaga ng isang tao ay nasusukat sa pinakamahal na bagay na kaya nitong ipakita. Si Julian ay pumunta sa auction upang bumili ng isang mansion at ipakita sa lahat kung sino ang pinili niya. Si Bella ay dumating upang suriin ang utang, protektahan ang estate at magpasya kung sulit iligtas ang buong proyekto. Isa ang naghanap ng simbolo ng kayamanan. Ang isa ay tumanggap ng responsibilidad ng tunay na pagmamay-ari. At sa huli, hindi ang pinakamalakas tumawa ang umalis na may hawak ng Verde Vista, kundi ang babaeng tahimik na naghintay hanggang matapos ang lahat ng pagyayabang bago itaas ang kanyang paddle at bilhin hindi lamang ang villa, kundi ang buong mundong nakapaligid dito.